When the DCEU is long gone, I will always have the first Wonder Woman and Shazam. Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage, and to my big surprise, the first Shazam instantly became one of my favorite DC superhero movies when it came out in 2019. What I enjoyed so much about the movie was its childlike fascination with the notion of becoming a superhero. There was such an excitement and joy to it. But director David F. Sandberg, whose wheelhouse was mainly horror, also brought a dark and sinister and sometimes quite frightening and gruesome sentiment to his superhero film. And there's just something about movies with children and for children that aren't afraid to get really dark and scary as well. And Shazam was also such a wonderful film because at its heart were its characters, and the themes felt really genuine. It was actually a really touching film. And again, it was also a film that was about being or becoming a hero and using your powers for good. Because as you know, with great power comes great responsibility. So obviously, I was looking forward to the sequel. Sure, it's uncertain if the character, or rather this specific incarnation of the character, will continue over under James Gunn's new leadership for the DC Universe. I mean, there is one mid and one after credit scene, and he has voiced interest to continue Zachary Levi in the role, depending on the movie's feedback. But honestly, I really don't care too much about these things because first and foremost, I just want to see a good movie. The more standalone it is, the better I think. At least in this particular case, but it's not the worst advice in general. So, is Shazam, Fury of the Gods, a good movie? I think so. Is it as emotional, as coherent or tight as the original? Are the themes as explored? Not really. It does become a little bit too much of a typical superhero hodgepodge, especially in the middle section. But it still provides a good time because it's still focused enough on these characters and their dynamic. Remember, at the end of the first Shazam, all of Billy Batson's foster siblings became superheroes as well. So this is obviously the perfect starting point for the second film. What is this doing to this lovely patchwork family? And how is Billy, who never had a family before, coping with it? I think they are doing a nice job in pushing the character into this direction of trying to hold everything together way too strongly for fear of losing this newfound belonging again. They have a rule for their superhero team, which is all or none. Understandably though, each one has their own life as well. Like in the first movie, the second most important character is his best friend Freddie Freeman, who again, very understandably, wants to explore and enjoy his new powers on his own as well. And it's also him who has a love interest this time around, played by Rachel Zegler. He is of course played again by Jack Dylan Grazer, who is once again absolutely fantastic in the role. Obviously, all the child actors have aged quite a bit, and therefore there's a little bit less of that boyish charm. But there's still enough, and it's still a lot of fun to see how their young and naive personalities are shown in their adult alter egos. Especially Darla, who is the youngest of the team, is just so adorable. Both as a young girl played by Faithie Herman and as a young girl in the body of a young woman played by Megan Good. Both actors are really great, and the comedic bits in general work pretty well. Once again, this mixture of lighthearted fun and some darker stuff works pretty well. And when a movie about superheroes begins with an ordinary but nonetheless pretty heroic rescue operation to Bonnie Tyler's holding out for a hero, the movie's already doing something right in my book. In general, this is something that I miss in a lot of modern superhero movies. Scenes in which ordinary people are involved, and not just our team of heroes and our villains. It's always more powerful for me if I can see the effect that our bad guys and in reverse our good guys have on the normal world and its people. Later in the movie, there are a lot of scenes in which the city of Philadelphia seems far too empty for my taste, but we get at least some extras here and there. There's also this ongoing element of our heroes messing up and being called the Philadelphia Fiascos. There's this theme of imposter syndrome. Billy Batson got these huge powers, and because of his past, he feels like he didn't deserve it and that he can't live up to the expectations of being a superhero. And I think that's a good angle, but I also thought it's somewhat half-baked, as this antipathy by the city towards them doesn't feel all that justified. That's also what I meant when I said the themes aren't explored as much as in the first film. For example, there's also this minor conflict in that Billy isn't yet able to call his foster mom, Mom. But both of them really only have like 2 scenes in the entire movie. Because of the actors, it still had a touching payoff for me, but it's not as focused and strong as it was in the first one. It also felt strange to me that his older sister Mary is telling him that he might have to go when he turns 18 in a few months. It felt a bit out of character for her to read the situation this negatively. But what about the actual superhero story? We get a pretty cool combo in Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu as the daughters of Atlas, and it's not that common to have 2 older ladies being the bad guys in a movie like this. And it goes without saying that both Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu are a lot of fun. They add a certain gravitas to it, while at the same time delivering on that Saturday morning cartoon vibe these Shazam movies are going for. And once again, director David F. Sandberg is injecting his love for horror into the movie. And there's also this nice little nod to 2 great Italian genre directors when you pay attention to the name of a doctor early on. Sandberg allows his bad guys to be really evil, and towards the end he's giving the audience a lot of monster flavor. The effects are pretty good, as they should be in a big movie like this. But you know how it is and how often they are not. And yet I have to say that the movie can be quite ugly as well. For my own taste, the images were a bit too drab and murky at times. And unfortunately, this also goes a little bit for the storytelling itself. It's all sensible or understandable enough, but it also seems a bit arbitrary. Like this whole element with the big dome over the city. At first, I thought this was a nice idea to trap an entire city, but the movie isn't really doing much with it, and in the end, it felt too much like a storytelling convenience than something that actually makes a lot of sense for the characters who are responsible for it. Fortunately though, you don't question the things happening too much, because the characters and the jokes are still a lot of fun. And it's also pretty nice that we get a lot more Jimon Honsu this time around. So in German I'd say, Shazam, Fury of the Gods kann zwar nicht ganz mit der Emotionalität, thematischen Dichte und einfach der Frische und Freude des ersten Teils mithalten, ist aber immer noch ein ziemlich vergnüglicher und charakterbezogener Superheldenfilm. I give Shazam, Fury of the Gods 7 out of 10. It's more like 6.9, but I don't do that. Alright, that's it like always. Comment below and let me know what you think about Shazam, Fury of the Gods. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram and Letterboxd and also Patreon, simply at @TheJimmyCage. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all I have to tell.